Well, these are a couple of the most read guys on the web. They are Michael Brodkorb from Minnesota Democrats Exposed and Matt Martin from MN Publius. We're going to start with an easy topic here. I'm going to tee up taxes for you. Just heard House and Senate, they're talking about taxes. Income, sales, gas taxes, no taxes. Where are you guys at here?
Well, I think that the House especially has put forward a bill that's really quite stunning in that it will devote all the income tax increases, which are for only 1% of Minnesotans. And don't let the Republicans skew you out there that this is going to be a tax increase for most people. For most people, they see property tax
What about the Senate, though? They go after a lower tier. Theirs starts at $140 versus the House here, which is at $250.
We're talking about the difference between starting at $140,000 after deductions for a single filer or $240,000. The fact of the matter is, on either side, this is not going to affect the vast majority of Minnesotans. It's just not.
Both the Senate and the House have passed gas tax increases and other sales tax increases that would affect, by even the own Senate author's admission, the average family of four would have a tax increase of a gas tax increase of $500 per household. So the myth here that the Senate tax palooza, which Republicans have called it, doesn't affect the average Minnesotan is just preposterous.
Well, I mean, I think that if you look at the same report, it shows that transportation is in such dire need of funding in the state. It's so bad, and we have so many traffic jams, and it's gone so much worse in the last decade, that people are spending, on average, $700 more just because they're sitting in traffic, and they're paying that, wasting it on gas.
How about the gas tax? Let me jump in here on this one, because if anything really happens this year, we know the others are just kind of bombs and salvos, and the governor is going to veto all the tax increases, but the gas tax may be the one thing that has override potential, especially if it's smaller. The 10 cents, probably a big opening number. A 5 cent, a 3 cent, that has some appeal and could get some Republicans to jump. Are you willing to admit that?
I don't know at that point what the Republicans are going to do. I think that the governor has been consistent that he's going to be vetoing tax increases, and I think where I think the Senate and House Democrats have overplayed their hand is they're just offering a smorgasbord of so many things. Look, the DFL candidate for governor, Mike Hatch, stood up in front of the DFL convention in Rochester and said that we can do what we want to do without raising taxes. The Democrats didn't campaign on raising taxes. They didn't campaign and door knock across the state saying they were going to raise taxes. So I think there's a real smoke and mirrors effort here. And I think there needs to be some honesty with the voters as to what they're getting here.
How about that argument that Democrats didn't campaign on taxes? They campaigned on education, health care, and property taxes going down.
I think that that's exactly right. We did campaign on healthcare, education, transportation is a big one, and we need not forget that, and also property taxes going down. And if you look at the House package, it's amazing how little the taxes go up, and they're only for the very top tier. It's true. It's absolutely true. And you cover property tax relief for the average Minnesotan. It's going to go down. The gas tax is a slightly different story, but if there's any pure user fee that this state has, it's a gas tax. It's constitutionally mandated to go to roads, not even transit, straight to roads. And we haven't raised it since 1988.
User fee, we've been hearing that word around here for years. Your governor liked user fees quite a bit, didn't he?
If taxes were such a popular message for Democrats, they would have campaigned on it, and they didn't. At the end of the day, the Democrats are not here today because of their promises to raise taxes. They simply didn't campaign that way.
Look, nobody likes more taxes. That's something that anybody can tell.
Except the Senate and House Democrats.
Absolutely not. The Senate and House Democrats know that if we want progress in Minnesota, if we want real progress, we need to undo the irresponsible tax cuts for the wealthiest that have made this state a regressive tax state. The wealthiest are taxed by percentage way less than middle-class Minnesotans.
If the message that what you were saying was so truthful and so politically popular, the Democrats would have campaigned that way. It's just false to say that there's not a massive tax push here by the House and Senate Democrats. They obviously love taxes.
Let me jump in with an issue. I know we could fight about taxes the whole time, but some of the taxes go to fund education, one of those key issues. Tell me where you guys seem to be at on education, because even the chambers are differing of where to put their money. House here wants all-day kindergarten, Senate wants early childhood, and then the governor wants these high-tech super high schools. Where should the priorities be?
I think the priority should be for smart resources dedicated in a smarter, more efficient way. I support the governor's position on that, where he wants to relook at how our schools are funded, technology and other things. I think Senate Democrats and House Democrats in some regard, and the Democratic policy is more money without as much accountability.
I don't think you weighed in on which one, early childhood, all-day K, or high school. Which tier do you think should the little targeted money go to?
I like the high school and
like
the high school. Yeah, that proponent.
Okay.
I mean, that's Palente's. But at any rate,
I am a Republican.
under Governor Palenti and under a Republican majority-led House in 2003, we saw the first tax cut in the history of this state for K through 12 education, and we're starting to feel it. We're starting to feel it in the schools across the state, and they're in dire straits. I think that we need all-day kindergarten. I think that that really is something. If you put somebody in first grade who has not had a fair start, you're just not going to be able to teach that child.
Are Democrats harming themselves, though, by one chamber supporting early childhood, the other all-day K? You know, do we have a little difference opinion? Are you worried about that, what might do for Democrats up here?
Well, I think that it's important to see I think it's important to look at the different issues and where they stand, and if we can come to some sort of consensus. The Senate
But you can't pay for both.
You can't pay for
unless you hike some more taxes, right?
I will say it's clear on the tax bill and it's clear on the education bill that the Democrats are not united in any way. You had 7 Democrats in the Senate vote against the Senate's own tax proposals.
Well, there's more of them too.
Well, sure, there's more in the House, and so, but their problem is they're not even unified in their message. So I think it's going to be difficult for them to be unified in going against the governor when they're not even unified in their own message.
Are Republicans unified in their message up here? What do you think of the Republican messages coming out here?
I mean, the Republican messaging is essentially a distraction game. I mean, you hear this, you try to scare people into thinking that their taxes are going to go way up. You try to derail a very, very productive session in the House and the Senate. We didn't see real progress under Republican leadership for the past 6 years, and then all of a sudden, when we actually have real plans, real solutions, healthcare problems, transportation problems, education problems, all we hear is taxes, taxes, taxes.
Well, Matt, I will say this. It's an absolute myth to say that Minnesotans are not going to feel a tax pinch because of the Senate Democrats and because of the House Democratic proposals. Highest tax rate in the nation, massive gas tax increases and sales taxes. It's tax-a-palooza for a reason.
I can tell the average Minnesotan, and in all honesty, especially underneath the House bill, only 1% of Minnesotans will see a tax increase.
I think we got that stat. Let's talk about, before we run out of time here, T-Paul, the big dog. Let's do a little assessment of him. Does he look like a hero or a zero for vetoing these tax increases headed his way?
I think he'll look like as the exact role that Republicans and the voters wanted him here to be, the goalie for the high tax and high spend proposals of the House and Senate Democrats. He's going to be a great leader.
I'll tell you who he looks great for is the national Republicans that he's trying to play to. He's not looking at Minnesotans. He's not heard the message that Minnesotans sent to his desk in November. He's playing to be vice president.
Is he going down in flames in the VP role anyway? But people are saying 2012 instead of 08 now.
The governor is concerned about being governor of the state. That's what he's focused on. He was just reelected, and he's done a great job.
Thank you, gentlemen. It was a pleasure.